Hello, my name is Renny Adejuwon. Welcome to Crossing the T's and Dotting the I's with children, parenting, and education. I am still on the journey of the 12 years of child development, taking it from the first month of the year to the last month of the year. And we are in the seventh month, which will be focusing on the 7-year-olds. And for this, I am titling it Sensitive 7. So we are looking at the 7-year-olds in this journey. So 7-year-olds at this age, if you haven't seen my previous videos, go back to watch from babies to 6-year-olds. And when I talk about the 6-year-old, you can see that some of the things I spoke about in the 6th year of child development is still linking up to the 7th year and the 8th year, which I will be doing on my next video. So 7-year-olds, what will they be doing at this age? At this age, 7, children will be preoccupied with themselves, but sensitive when someone they care about is hurting. They're becoming opening up with their emotions. They're still in their space, finding out who they are because of they're getting into the middle childhood, but they are definitely paying attention to people around them, someone they care about, being more sensitive. They are learning better ways to describe experience and talk about their thoughts and feelings as well. So their communication is much more advanced. So expressing and talking about their feelings in a space that they are given the chance to, because it's important to break that down, that when they are in an environment that they have the opportunity to express themselves, their emotions, their thoughts. At this age, at the age of 7, they are definitely doing that. At the age of 7, they are also empathetical in thinking, but when they are tired, they get really, really irritated. So they're showing a bit of empathy. Not that they understand what that is, but they're very willing to give hugs. Maybe they think somebody is hurting because of they understand how that might feel. Maybe somebody bruises their knees, or maybe somebody's crying, they're not having their way. Because of their having a better understanding of themselves, being able to articulate how they're feeling at the age of 7. So they're a bit more empathetical. But of course, if they're tired, because of they're still in that childhoodness and childhood stage, middle childhood, they don't tend to pay attention to or care about other people's emotion. But that is when the tiredness kicks in. At the age of 7, they're learning new skills, like riding 2-wheel bicycle. Definitely at the age of 7, children, they're moving away from their 3-wheel, depending on how early you start them. It's like potty training. I talked about that at the age of 2, but definitely at the age of 7, children are able and willing to learn these new skills more confidently. And even while they are learning the skills of being able to move from 3-wheel bicycles to 2-wheel bicycles, they are understanding that you have to work at it. It just doesn't happen. It's not just that you step on the 2-wheel, you move from your 3-wheel and you step on the 2-wheel. They are learning to understand that it takes a lot of practice for this to happen. It just doesn't happen at a snap of a finger. There's no magic to it. So they're able to learn the new skills, but they know that practice has to kick in place, and which makes destructive behavior very evident at this age, in the sense that if they're not getting their way, they're not the practice of the driving of riding a bicycle is not showing. They can show a bit of frustration. They can show that, oh, it's not working for me, it's taking too long. But of course, that destructive behavior can come in because they see that the skills, is taking longer than they expect for them to learn a new skill. At the age of 7, children can challenge authority confidently in words and starting to reason why. So maybe they can challenge in words now. It's more they're challenging. Of course, they're starting, some of them, depending on the development they challenge it. But at this age of 7, based on the environment they've had, they haven't been suppressed. They've been the environment they've had to express themselves. They can say things and, they can say, but why? More confidently, even though you tell them, earlier on, you give them a simple answer of their why, they might take it on. But this time, if you tell them why, they will tell you their own thoughts as well. So it's like challenging that behavior in that sense. And while they're challenging that behavior, the ability to display independence from family becomes evident. If you're speaking to them, they're kind of getting that their independence away from families, and doing those chores of maybe going to make a sandwich for themselves. Children at this age, they are confident in, some of them at the age of 7, trying to get themselves from independence, away from the family, doing little chores by themselves. They can make a sandwich. It doesn't mean the sandwich is going to be the perfect, but those little abilities of challenging, or why do I have to do that? Even if you tell them the answers, they will still challenge and ask another why, because of that independence is coming, and being able to go on to do their own chores, tie their shoelaces independently, wear their jackets, their clothing, mostly in the proper way, not just wearing it much younger when they were much younger, inside out or upside down. But at this age 7, they are able to do those kind of tasks. At age 7, children identity can move from one situation to the next based on the task and things they're doing. So, they can change identity. They can, they're not just set on one identity of, oh, I'm dressing up as a, maybe in role play, they're dressing up like a police officer. They can switch as well to be a footballer. They have, those ability, those concrete thoughts, cognitive development of being able to switch identities are taking place. And in this sense, it's the ability to understanding of seeing different point of views based on their own personal experience. The ability of being able to change their identities based on the experiences they've had, being able to move from being a police person to being a fire officer, to being a teacher, to being a mom, to being a dad, to being any identity they want to be. It's all part of the personal experiences they have, the understanding at this age of 7. In my last video of looking at the sensitive, looking at the 6-year-old, I mentioned Piaget and Vygotsky. And, at that age of 6, that is when those theories are taking place. But definitely at the age of 7, Piaget's conversation theory at play, which is children understanding quantity, is definitely at play. At the age of 6, I mentioned in my last video, definitely go back to watch my last video. I mentioned that children are beginning to understand addition and subtraction, adding items to a group of other items and taking it away. But at this age, the Piaget theory of understanding quantity, volumes, is taking place. Like, when they see liquid, they are able to distinguish that, oh, when you pour it into a certain shape, when you pour liquid into a certain shape, If it's the same quantity, it can definitely fit into another container, even if it's of a different shape, because as I mentioned, that cognitive ability, that intellectual development is much advanced at this age. Vygotsky theory of pair-on-pair scaffolding can be in place where a child that is more matured and advanced in activities supports another child that is still developing in this activity. I mentioned that also at the age of 6, but definitely at this age, more matured activities at the age of 7 that children can do, in the sense of, the subtracting and the addition in class. That Vygotsky pair and pair support scaffolding is coming into play. It's more matured compared to the age of 7. So, Vygotsky's theory of quantity at the age of 7, children understanding that, and Vygotsky's pair and pair support of scaffolding is much advanced at the age of 7. At the age of 7, friendship is becoming more important, and children begin to develop confidence through friends, schoolwork, and sports. They're developing those friendship. Those friendship is becoming more important. Schoolwork is becoming more important. They want to show their teachers or their carers in the educational sector that, they are capable of this, and particularly in sport as well. Those sports days when you have maybe summer sports or end of school sports, when they lose, it can be a big problem at this age of 7. But at also not wanting to be a failure, but to make a headway. So that's the thing, at the age of 6, when they lose, they might not be able to regulate those emotions, but by this age of 7, it's like they're trying to prove a point. Children are trying to prove a point that, you know what, with my friends, with my, teachers on sports day, in schoolwork, I don't want to be a failure. I don't want to show that, oh, I'm not capable of doing this. So, that ability comes on because they want to make a headway. And definitely they may have outbursts and be unhappy if a special friend is not in school. With those not being able to show that they are failures, they might have a bit of an outburst about it. But also, if a special friend is not in school, it can make them, very unhappy. And in school, with majority of 7 years old choosing or having same-sex friends, now they're going towards maybe more of boys or more of girls, but that is changing in the society that I am in. But when you look at the global society, when you look at other cultures as well, if a friend is not in school that they have a soft spot for, or they have a good relationship with, it kind of affects them. They might tell their parents maybe, oh, this person was not in school today, because they're able to express themselves. But in that choice of friendship, they're getting more focused on gender based, more if maybe more a girl might tend towards having those relationship with girls, and if it's a boy, they tend towards having that relationship with a boy. But that is on a global, when you look at different cultures, that tends to take place as well. At the age of 7, children want to be remembered by their significant adult carers. I mentioned it earlier that at this age, children are trying to impress, wanting to not to show that they are not capable of doing certain activities. So that is them trying to impress their main carers or their teachers, and they want this main carers to remember them. So at this age, they're trying to do tasks to ensure that, oh, this adult remembers me, this teacher remembers me, or that in those activity. At the age of 7, children are distinguishing between truth and lie. because of that, is I talked about it earlier on. They're talking about asking you why. If you tell them why, they're not just taking it, but they might ask again based on the environment they're in. So, at this age, there is a bit of a distinction between what a truth is and what a lie is. They're beginning to identify the difference. And of course, they're less fooled by appearances. Maybe a mascot comes or something. From the age of 7, they might be able to identify that, oh, maybe there's an adult in it. Or they just don't take it like, oh, it's an animal dressed, a big animal dressed in fur, but they're able to identify that, oh, there is a truth and there is a lie. And also, they're not being fooled easily anymore. And call it out if the chance arises. They can definitely call the lie out, where the filter is not there. I mean, children, we know, younger children, they don't definitely have filters, because they say something, and they say what they see. But at this age, getting on to the age of 7, they might actually call out the exact lie that maybe they've seen, or they're not happy with, or that appearance. They're like, oh, something doesn't seem to be perfect there. And based on this also, they can definitely, children at this age can blame themselves if something goes wrong or not according to plan. Children generally do that, even up to the older age of children. But from this age 7, if something doesn't go according to plan, they take it really, really hard, like, oh, maybe it's my fault or something. But, because of this age of being more aware of their emotional development. And on a lighter note, children at this age are figuring out stories like the Tooth Fairy and Father Christmas. Don't have a full truth to them. They're beginning, I mentioned earlier on about, distinguishing between a truth and a lie. So they are able to identify that, questioning things like the stories of the Tooth Fairies, if that is what, you have in your culture, and Father Christmas, that, oh, asking you more deep questions, trying to figure out, okay, catch out who the Tooth Fairy is, who the Father Christmas is. So in that aspect, they're becoming more inquisitive at the age of 7. And still on the lighter note, milk teeth, their milk teeth definitely at the age of 7 is, falling out, and maybe taking a bit of a time to grow back. So, milk teeth are definitely falling out at the age of 7, and more adult teeth are growing and glad. They're also very glad to make a joke about it. They're so confident in showing those teeth. If it's growing, majority of 7-year-olds, they might say, oh, I'm waiting for my teeth to come out or to grow back. Some children have their milk teeth fall out earlier, but between the ages of 6, 7, definitely waiting for that adult teeth to grow back. And they're very, very happy to make a joke about it or show it off, like, oh, I'm getting my milk teeth. So so that brings me to sensitive 7, at this age, being very aware of their emotions, being aware of quantity, like Piaget's theory said, and Vygotsky about that peer and pair scaffolding being more advanced at this age. They're able to distinguish between truth and a lie, and they're not easily fooled. So that is what 7-year-olds are all about. I still remain Renny Adejuwon, and you can find me at rennyadejuwon.com, where you can view all my previous videos on 12 years of child development. I have so many resources on my website, rennyadejuwon.com. And Thank you so much for being on this journey with me, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.